Hey, what is going on, everybody? My name's Luke, and today on the channel we're going to be doing a video on Krennic versus Veers. So this is going to be taking a look at, competitive lists. I'm just going to go over their stats real quick and their command cards, and then I'm going to go into some lists that you can play with them. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Okay, so here's the the card stats. Krennic 90 points versus 80 on Veers, so 10-point difference there. It's not going to matter that much, but it's enough to matter, right? In an 800-point list, you only have 800 points, so 10 points can matter a lot. Krennic has Compel. This is kind of like a blessing and a curse. So if you're already suppressed and you're in range 1 to 2, you can take another suppression, and then you can perform a free action, or move action, sorry, not a free action, free move action. So, like, if you're already suppressed, right, you have a suppression on you. So now you do Compel, which means you gain 1, so now you have 2. So this means at the end of the round, best case scenario, you don't get shot again. So now you take 1 off, you're only down to 1. So that means next round there's a good chance that you're going to be suppressed again. So it kind of, you got to know that and make that decision based off that, right? So that's why it's kind of, it's kind of good, kind of bad. You're kind of setting yourself up to be suppressed again next round. But sometimes it doesn't matter, and sometimes you need that movement. So Cunning, which is really good. This means if it's a tie, excuse me, and you play one of your specific cards, so it has to have, his picture on it, then you get priority, which is really nice, especially with this 1 pip. I'll talk about that later. He has Entourage, the Death Troopers, so they get, a free order, which is really good. Anytime you're giving out free orders, that is really good, because it gives you more order control, obviously. Sharpshooter 1, just like Veers. So he can get into the fight. He does shoot Rainbow at 1 to 2. He does have Pierce 1. So he has to get up closer than Veers, which is kind of bad. But when it's late in the round, that's not that bad because you're going to have him up there anyways. He does have 6 health with white saves with Surge, so it's pretty similar to Veers in that he has 5 in red, so it's pretty similar. They both have Kurtz too. Veers obviously, Spotter 2, Inspire 1, and Precise 1, whatever. We already know Veers. So they both have their roles that they fill, and they play differently, but in the same sense that they're kind of similar. So yeah, that's just their stats. So command cards, we know Veers, maximum firepower being his best. Evasive maneuvers, usually you don't see because you're not seeing vehicles, unfortunately, in the competitive scene. And then Imperial Discipline usually is not played because you swap that out for Coordinated Fire. Most times, some lists you take it, and I'll talk about that later because some of the lists with Krennic and Veers use it. But it does give you a free recover, which is nice. So moving on. Krennic's cards are some of the best command cards in the game, I think. Starting with this 3 pip. So everybody gets a suppression on the board. Well, trooper units, obviously. And then if it's turn 5 or 6, you get 2. So that does include your own units, but you have Compel, where usually, if you're playing a Rebel or Imperial that doesn't have Krennic, then they don't have Compel. So that can play into your hand really well, especially on turn 5 or 6 where you're pushing for objectives. Or let's say even they have, the backfield unit with the box, and you pop that and they have 2 suppression on them now. if they don't have that commander in range, they're going to be panicked, probably, and then they're going to drop the box. So it can really screw up your opponent's thought process and what they're going to be doing in the late game. It's also a good play if you played on first round. It's not as good, obviously, but it's not terrible because you're slowing your opponent down first round. Most of the time they're not going to roll off, and they're only going to have one action with their core units. So it's pretty good. His 2-pip is really nice. It really helps out the Death Troopers. I mean, you see their picture on there, so it's kind of meant for them. So what it does, you get 2 troopers. You get to pick 2 that have the order tokens on them, and then each of those units get a standby. So why this works so well with the Death Troopers is whenever a Death Trooper gets a standby, they get a free aim. So not only does it give them a free aim, but it also gives them the standby. So this can be used as like a counterplay to things like Luke. So on a Skywalker turn, let's say he has to double move or something. If you set it up properly and you give 2 units standbys, now Luke has to go through 2 attacks before he gets that Son of Skywalker off, which is really good. Anytime you get a free attack, that's really good. So they either have to choose, do I let him get that free attack off, or do I use a different unit first and then suppress those units, therefore not going with the unit that he wants to go with. He or she, sorry. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It can be really good, and I think this one is underestimated. So be careful if you're playing against Krennic, because this is a really good card. His 1-pip, one of the best 1-pips in the game, just for the fact that it wins priority, because if you tie with a 1-pip, then you have cunning, so you automatically win. This gives you really good order control as well, because you get to draw 3 and you get to look at them yourself. Your opponent doesn't know what they are, which is really good, but you do, so you get greater order control than you would on a normal 1-pip, and you're gonna win it because of cunning. So this can win you a game in itself. So really good cards. Best part about them, as well as every character in the game. I mean, most characters are based off their cards, right? So here's some lists, starting off with just a Krennic only list. So this one has Krennic with strict orders, improvised orders. I threw strict orders in there because coordinated fire turn, you can do some nasty stuff. It has 5 DLTs. One has a medic squad. That's for mainly Death Troopers, revival, maybe snipers if they're just avoiding your Death Troopers. Has a snow squad in there. That's for denying Wookiees or guards, or even just flaming some stuff. I think this is really good to have in there because you have 5 DLTs as well, the Death Troopers, but you don't have really that close quarter squads. I could see with the extra points, you only have 791. You could swap a DLT squad for another Flame Trooper squad. That could be a good idea. So yeah, maybe play test with that. It does have the Death Troopers with a recon intel. I think recon intel really is really good for the Death Troopers. The reason being, most deployments are about range 4 away. So if you scout up, now you're already in range 4, so you could just aim and shoot a unit before they even move, and do some pretty big damage there. I do have the grenade launcher, but you're going to be using the focus fire one when you deploy, obviously. And then 3 snipers. 3 snipers are just amazing, so you can't go wrong. This list has 11 activations, so it's pretty solid. Most lists now are 10 to 11. You can take that how you want. I kind of think it's a bad thing for the game, but I'm not going to get into it. Moving on. Now, this list has become known as Kroba. So you have Director Krennic, improvised orders. There could be arguments for not taking improvised orders. I'll explain that in a second. You have 4 DLTs. One has, a medic in there. You got Boba Fett, hence the name Kroba. Hunter and Stims, those are kind of standards. Then you have a Death Trooper squad. Now the key here is that you have the comms relay. So every time you entourage the Krennic, or from Krennic to the Death Troopers, then you comms relay to Boba. So now you're always going to have Boba with an order, which is amazing. That's one of the downfalls of Veers' list, which is why you bring, improvised orders. So with Boba Fett always having an order token, I could see you taking off improvised orders, but improvised orders is just so good, so you may as well take it. And then you got 3 snipers as well, so pretty good. And then this medic just heals whatever takes damage, really. I would use it mainly on Death Troopers, but if they're not taking shots, then you can use it on the snipers or whatever. So I think this list is pretty good. 10 activations, so lower than, one lower than 11, but 10 is still pretty good. And they're all pretty solid activations. You don't have like a naked stormtrooper in there or anything like that, so pretty good. This is another list here. It features Krennic, Veers, and Death Troopers, which is really fun. So you have 2 squads of Death Troopers and 2 snipers. 4 DLTs again, 1 medic squad, and then Veers and Krennic. So what this allows you to do and why this is so good is you bring Veers and now you run Imperial Discipline. So what that lets you do is when you get an order, you get a free ready action. So the Death Troopers, first round are going to fire their range 4 guns. Then round 2 or whatever, whenever you feel like doing this, probably round 2. But you play Imperial Discipline. So that means everybody with an order gets a free ready, which is going to be, you're going to put orders on the Death Troopers, one from Entourage and one from, just the card itself. Now the key here is that they now get to ready up their weapons, so they can either move and shoot or aim shoot. I would suggest, feeding aims to the Death Troopers from Veers. That'll be really useful because now they have a free action where they don't have to aim themselves. They can instead, move or ready up their weapon. This is pretty nice. I did throw strict orders on this list. I don't know. I haven't really play tested it much yet, but my thinking is you run coordinated fire instead of annihilation looms. Now, I mean this could go either way, but that just gives you, a ridiculous aim chain going, and you have comms relay there for that round. So you give it to Veers as well as, 3 Stormies, and you can get some good aim chain going. Good old-fashioned aim chain. You can get like, whatever, 48 free aims or whatever, which is going to be fun. So that's a Veers, Krennic, and Death Troopers list. Now, the last list that I'm going to be talking about is Krennic and Sabs. So I think Krennic gives you a reason as an Imperial player to actually bring Sabs to the table. This is in mainly part due to the fact that he is cunning. So if you tie, you automatically go first. It's also due to the fact that you have a entourage and comms relay thing going. So you entourage from Krennic to Death Troopers, and then you go relay from Death Troopers to a Sab squad. So with that, like, 1 pip, you get the entourage, which gives you the order to the Sabs. So now you go first, and you're going first because it's cunning. So you go in, you just set a mine and blow it up, and hopefully, hit like 6 or 7 units. Double suppressive. And then you have Annihilation Looms as well. So you're just playing the suppression game and just trying to really, mess them up. It does have 5 DLTs as well, which is a really good gun line. And you obviously have Death Troopers, which are no slouch. And then you have 2 medics, 1 on a naked squad. So they're just more objective grabbing and healing. And then, other things. But this is the list that I actually ran this past Saturday at the local tournament. We had 8 players. I did go undefeated and took first. My first 2 games were against players who weren't familiar with what was about to happen. So they were not ready for the bombs to be blowing up their whole army, which was fun. The Sabs, since they're not played a lot, nobody knows how to play against them, which is really cool. And they've been out for so long. They've been out since September, but yet nobody plays them, so nobody knows how to, go against them, really. So it gives you some fun options. And then my last game was against Evan Bulrus from the 5th Trooper. Shout out to you, Evan, if you're watching. That was a really close game. He had me beat going into like the 4th round or something. It was a really dumb game, I think. There was like no shooting because it was like breakthrough and disarray. All I did was just run across, and he tried to run at me and try and, take out units. Wasn't that exciting, but still a really good game. He had me beat until he misplayed Boba, and just kind of hung him out to dry, and I had some lucky rolls go my way and took him out. But up until that point, he definitely had me beat. But yeah, I think this list is really fun, and it gives you a reason to bring Sabs, which is cool. And like, if you can hit people with lists that they've never seen before, don't know how to play against, then you have that huge advantage where you know what you're doing, but they have no clue what you're gonna do, So it's fun. And the Sabs, like, the cool thing about the Sabs is like, okay, yeah, they go in there and they detonate, right? They might blow themselves up, but you got stims on them, so they're gonna be popping stims. So now they have hard cover no matter what because they're suppressed with low profile. So now it's like, okay, does your opponent then therefore shoot at them? Because if they don't, then they're going to blow up another bomb next turn. And if they do shoot at them, then they're kind of, what the heck? They're kind of wasting attacks because they've already done their thing. So as the Sab player, you're throwing them out there, you're blowing it up. You don't care. They've already done their job. If they hit like 4 units at least and double suppress 4 units, they've already done the job. And you're usually hitting like 5 units if you set it up right, at least. Sometimes it's like their whole army. So they've already done their job. So you don't care. If they shoot them, that's great because they're wasting attacks. If they don't shoot them, oops, if they don't shoot them, then they're going to have another bomb blowing up next round. So it's pretty fun. Yeah, I would recommend trying this list out. I could see really good players going really far with this list. So yeah. Anyways, I hope this informational video was informational. And yeah, other than that, Have a great day, everybody, and hope you run some Krennic. So, see you later.